Boy, am I sure glad that there are headphones, an SM7b, and a camera set up on the beach, because today on the I Am on the Beach Says podcast, I'll be discussing a portable recorder for the SM7b and other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. This week, I did actually look at the news and nothing seemed interesting to me, so we're going to jump to what I've been testing. Yes, you are technically listening to something that I'm testing, but what I want to talk about is camera filters. Last week's video looked like trash. The reason for that is in my hand. I have polarizing lenses on all of the cameras in my studio, except for the stock 18 to 55mm lens from Canon. I have been using that lens a lot more, so I finally thought I need to get a filter for it. Instead of buying a polarizing filter, I made the mistake of buying an ND filter. I believe that's a neutral density filter, which really darkens up the picture quite a bit. So last week's image, the footage, looked terrible. Not only was it darker than normal, but also I had an overhead light that was yellow, and it was screwing up the color temperature of the entire video. So I apologize for that. I have since fixed it. I am no longer using a neutral density filter, and now I have a polarizing filter, which should assist in getting rid of reflections and also blocking out my watch so you can't see what time it is. That's not why I'm using it. I don't care if you know what time it is. It's 12:56 p.m. That is it for what I've been testing. Just something fun, just something different. I never talk about cameras. I never talk about visuals because I stink at them. I am still reading off my phone because, as you can see, I am on the beach. We're jumping to what you had to say. The first comment comes from an ink guy. He says, "To help with the finance and making YouTube content, what I do is make the purchases once a year during the holiday sales. The downside is I will miss the newest thing right when it comes out, but it keeps the YouTube expenses down." And Ink Guy, thank you very much for the comment. I want to point out, I want to give a shout out to an Ink Guy. He runs a YouTube channel focused on fountain pen ink. And last week, as I move off microphone, I don't know why this is on the beach in the sand, but he is the gentleman who recommended Diamine Sherwood Green ink. Hopefully this is showing up because on the beach, sometimes greens disappear and reflect images of the beach. Very weird how that happens. So if you are into fountain pens or ink, go check out an Ink Guy. Great recommendation. I am still absolutely loving it. I love your approach here. Save up what you want, make a list, and wait for it to go on sale. I think this is great advice because it accomplishes quite a few things. First, you are putting stuff on a list that you want, and you are not buying it immediately. This goes back to what I was recommending last week. Make a list, wait a few months, wait 30 days is what I said, and then do you still want that after that wait? Sometimes, most of the time, no. You're waiting longer, so you are able to avoid any of that impulse purchasing because you're waiting months. Number 2, you aren't getting the latest and greatest, which can be bad, but is also oftentimes really good. You avoid the hype, you avoid falling trapped to FOMO, you're allowing the company to roll out updates to resolve any kind of bugs, and you're going to allow yourself to see more long-term use coverage. People who have used it for a few months, people who have uncovered bugs, who have uncovered quirks, who have uncovered new great ways to utilize the gear. So you're getting a more mature product by waiting a few months. Third, you're going into the holiday season sales with a list of what you want. A couple years ago, I made a video on Black Friday, my advice for Black Friday. What I said, do not just go on and browse aimlessly. I think what you ought to be doing is making a list of what you want, what you need, and then going through the sales, and if anything that you need is on sale, go ahead and get it. Because when you look at all these massive sales, what is the majority of stuff there? It's kind of junky. And you may think, oh, I'll never get a deal this good before. I'll never get a deal this good again, so I need to buy that thing, when prior to seeing it on sale, you had zero desire for it. So that's why I had recommended make a list of what you want or need, go into the sales. Are any of those items on sale? Are you getting a discount? Because you've been watching it, you know if you are actually getting a discount. If so, go ahead and get it. The fourth and final thing that I think you're accomplishing is actually benefiting from these discounts and sales. You aren't falling trapped to this idea of, oh, something is on sale. If I buy it, I'm saving money. That's not how it works. If you're buying something on discount simply because it is discounted, all you're doing is spending less money. You're not saving money. The instance in which you are saving money is, I need to buy an SM7b. Oh, it's on sale for $350 now. I will buy it now. In that instance, you saved money. But if you are just perusing these discounts, these sales, and identifying items that you hadn't planned on buying, but now that they are on sale, now that they are discounted, you are buying them, you are not saving money. You are just wasting less money, or you are just spending less money. The only instance where you are actually saving money is when you were going to buy it at full price, and now you're getting it at a discount, and you are accomplishing that. Great advice, and Ink Guy. Really do appreciate you sharing that, and good luck on the YouTube channel. Still loving the ink. I'll say it a million times more. Next, we have a comment from Zeke. He says, hey, Bandrew, do you have any suggestions for portable recorders that could drive the SM7b? I only need one channel. Smart pads may be recorded to a separate track if that's possible. Would be nice, but not necessary. Basically a Rodecaster Uno with less sound pads, and I don't need effects. My budget is $125, but I might be willing to go more. I have considered the P4. Are there any other options? Apriya, Bandrew. Also, fancy signature SM7B you got there. Zeke, thank you very much for the comment and the question. I begrudgingly came back inside from being at the beach to record this. I unfortunately do not have too much experience with a lot of portable recorders. The only few that I have experience with that have XLR inputs are the Zoom H6, and the one that you mentioned, the Zoom PodTrack P4. For this entire response, I am recording the SM7B directly into the PodTrack P4. I have phantom power off. My level or my gain is set at about 6.5. I have no low-cut filter. I have no limiter engaged, so we have plenty of gain on tap. I will go ahead and crank this up to 100%. This is how the SM7B sounds with the PodTrack P4 at 100%. I will even go ahead and speak softer. I will whisper. This has plenty of gain to drive the SM7B in my experience. I'll roll this back now. The one huge thing that I want to point out about the PodTrack P4 is the preamps. Yes, they have plenty of gain to drive the SM7B. However, they aren't the cleanest. So if you're looking for a super sterile and noiseless recording out of the SM7B, this is not going to offer that. That issue is going to compound on itself if you're using 4 SM7Bs and you have all 4 channels open at the same time, because that noise floor will just compound on each of those mics. But with one microphone, I really don't think it's the biggest deal. Last year, during fall season, I did some podcasts recording on my couch with a fireplace behind me, and I used the SM7B directly into the PodTrack P4. No cloud lifter, no Fedhead, no inline preamp. And they were a bit noisier, but I got 0 complaints. Because us as the individuals recording stuff, we are a lot more critical, and I wanted to see if anybody complained about it. Nobody did. So ultimately, the listener doesn't care too much, at least in my experience, even on this show, where people who listen to this show are hypercritical of audio. I didn't get any kind of complaints. Oh, I had to shut it off. The hiss was a few dB louder than usual. It's unacceptable. I didn't get a single one of those. The second thing you point out or that you want are sound pads recorded to a separate track. Yep, this should record those to a separate track. If I remember correctly, the way the PodTrack P4 records to the SD card, it records a stereo mix, but then it should record each of the tracks individually, so you can drop all of them into your DAW, and you can create your own mix. You would have mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, mic 4, and then your stereo sound pad. And what do we say about that? Exactly, we applaud them. No, it's not a joke. I just turned into Biden. Not a joke. I just did Biden with a Donald Trump accent. It's not a joke, China. Anyway, we have all of the sound. We have 4 sound pads, so not as thorough, not as many options as the Rodecaster Pro, but this is more than sufficient if you just have your podcast theme song and you have your outro, and then you want a few little musical cues. You want the applause, or you want the joke sound. So it offers all of that. And looking this up, this now goes for $150. It looks like you can get it used for $90 to $100. The only real drawback here is, number one, the preamps are a bit noisier, so if you're going in expecting dead silent recordings, you're not going to be getting it. The second, I didn't experience it today, but in the past, I had serious issues where maybe I'm using the wrong type of SD card, maybe I need to read the manual, but a couple of times it would freeze at about 30 seconds in, and then I would have to hard reset the device and start the recording again. And that is a very big issue, but I'm assuming that is user error using the incorrect type of sound card. So as far as your needs, as far as what you're searching for, a single microphone input with enough gain to drive the SM7b, with sound pads that record the mic and the sound pads to different tracks, and your budget of around $125, the P4 seems to fit the bill. I wish I had a different answer for you because it's boring just saying, yeah, what you were already looking at is the right answer, but there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. That sample, that test. Is it too I'll shut up and let you hear the noise floor. Is this too much hiss for you? Getting loud in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go, Zeke. Thank you very much for asking the question, and best of luck on deciding which one is right for you. I'm going to go back out to the beach and answer some more comments and record on the beach. Let's do that now. Next, we have a comment from TechMed Rainer Richter. He says, I could comment on a lot of topics of this very entertaining and educating podcast. Thank you, Bandrew. First topic, your worst audio. I loved your idea to do it with the reference mic Neumann U87, though you missed the hello Neumann part. It's a perfect exaggerated example that you can spoil audio even when using the best gear. Rainer, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it. I want to add on and address a few things about the terrible audio last week. I used the Neumann U87 running through a very high-end preamp into a very high-end interface in a decently treated room, and I got it to sound terrible. First, I did leave out the hello Neumann. I did that on purpose. Last week, I was trying to cause as much pain and suffering as possible. And I have trained people to expect, hello, Neumann, whenever I say the name Neumann. Hello, Neumann. So by leaving that out, I imagine it was creating an itch in people's brains. This is just purely evil. That just would not be itched because he didn't say it. What gives? When is he going to say it? So that was me just being a very, very evil person by not doing it because I do it every other time. So when I introduce it, people are expecting me to do it. It's kind of like je did did. And then the second thing that then you point out that okay, that I didn't that completely threw me off, that I didn't record in my untreated space. Again, that's because I wanted to make people suffer as much as possible by using the best environment that I have, the best microphone, maybe not the best, but one of the best microphones I have, the highest end preamp and the highest end interface. If I had tried to make it sound bad by going in an untreated space, going in a shower, or as Pags, who I have been calling Pax from MEI Studio, he said you should have used the green bullet from Shure. That would have been too simple. That would have been using a microphone that already sounds bad. Going into my living room, it's not a terrible sounding room, but it doesn't sound great. That would have been kind of an excuse. Okay, it sounds bad because he went in that room. What I did was, first, I'm going to make your brain itch. Then I am going to use one of the best mics, make that sound terrible. I'm going to set up the highest end pre that I have, set it up as terrible as possible. And then I am going to gain stage it so poorly that I overdrive the converters in my interface to make you suffer. And this will all be done in a decently treated room to prove, as you say, even with the highest end gear, you can spoil a recording, even in a decent room. Maybe not even, I know a lot of people stopped watching me because they say, oh, his room's terrible. His room sucks. How dare he test microphones in there? Well, newsflash, everybody. A lot of people have terrible rooms in a spare bedroom. We don't all have professional studios. So that was the logic behind it, and I apologize for leaving. I'll go ahead and give you, hey, today I'm using a Neumann U87 to make it sound as bad as, hello, Neumann. There you go. The itch in your brain has been resolved, and I actually just felt a bit of relief by doing a bit of relief by doing that as well. Thank you very much. Ignore the fact that it sounds like there's an air conditioning on because we all know at the beach there aren't any air conditioners. The next comment comes from Vid Mashup. He says, what is BSP? Vid Mashup, thank you for the comment and thank you for the question. BSP stands for Bandrew Says Podcast. It could also be the Bandrew Scott Project. It could also be the BS Podcast. As in, I'm not going to swear, but Bull S Podcast. But what it really means is the Bandrew Says Podcast, because that's what this show is called. I made the terrible decision of including podcast in the name of my podcast, as though that needed to... Hey, go listen to my podcast. It's called the Bandrew Says Pod. It's a terrible naming scheme. Just like when I launched Podcastage, I initially wanted to put out podcast episodes. Terrible decision, because what do 50% of podcasts have? The word podcast in their episode titles or in their actual podcast name. So when it comes to search, which has improved in a lot of these apps, but when people searched Podcastage, my show would not show up. So as far as naming schemes, I'm batting 0 out of 100 because it's just terrible on top of terrible. So there you go. That is what BSP stands for. Thanks for asking. Now we are getting to the value for value portion. The contributors, the supporters, the benefactors of this show. Number 1 comes from Top Tier Audio, $4.99 USD. He says, take my money. Top tier audio, thank you very much for the $5. I will take your money and I will be very gracious about it. Can I say that about myself? Oh, I'm going to be super gracious about it. I'm going to be grateful for it, is what I mean. I am very grateful. Thank you so much for the support. It helps me keep the bills, pay the bills. I am not editing. I'm going to try to limit the editing. I think I've done a few edits, but you know what? We're not doing it. We're not going to edit this thing to heck. Thank you very much. I am gracious and I am keeping my bills. What the hell does that mean? And the second comes from the benefactor, TechMed Rainer Richter, €20, Danke. As always, Rainer, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for the consistent support of this show, of podcastage, of the audio community on YouTube as a whole. When I go to different YouTube channels that cover audio, I see Rainer there supporting them. It is incredible. You are so generous and so kind, and you are keeping the audio realm on YouTube afloat. Thank you so much. I truly do appreciate it. That is it for the value for value section. Now let us jump to my favorite part of the show. We're doing it 2 weeks in a row. What? The Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome back to the Ask Bandrew segment, the segment where you ask me, Bandrew, and I attempt to answer you. If you want to submit a question, go to askbandrew.com. There are instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video because then I don't have to read. You get to speak on the show. You don't have to listen to me read. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. I don't know what happened there. I got stuck. It was a little bit of a glitch. Again, not editing. First submission comes from probably my favorite Frenchman. Maybe is this the only Frenchman that I know? I don't know, but he's my favorite. Take it away, Nico from France.
Hi, Bandrew. It's Nico from France, and I've got a question for you. Do you think about live streaming on YouTube? I mean, live stream your podcast so you can save time in editing. Is it something that you could consider or absolutely not? By the way, the episodes on the moon were great. I hope we'll see you on Mars, maybe on March. See you, Bandrew.
Nico, thank you very much for the video submission. I really do appreciate it. I hope it wasn't offensive that I said Nico's the only Frenchman that I know and he is also my favorite. I am sure if I knew every single Frenchman in existence, Nico would still be my favorite. I just want to point that out. It is so cool seeing how you progress and how you are constantly changing your video format, the outlays or the overlays rather, and how you get more and more comfortable on camera. It is so cool because you've been sending in submissions for a year and a half now. It's so cool. So your question, do I think about live streaming this podcast on YouTube to save some time on editing? Yes, I have thought about doing this, especially on weeks like last week, where I just consistently screw up and screw up and screw up, and it takes hours longer than it should. I think, oh man, if I was live streaming, this would be so much easier. But I flub a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. I misspeak a lot. I go on tangents, long and winding roads that take 15 minutes, only to realize I'm in a therapy session and nobody cares. So I edit all of that out. If my only concern was hiding the fact that I flub, hiding the fact that I'm a mushmouth, hiding the fact that I suck at public speaking or speaking on camera, I am still not good at it after a decade, if that was my only concern, absolutely, I would go ahead and live stream this because I don't care. I am public about the fact that I screw up. I am public about the fact that I do so much editing. So I don't care about that. The real reason I edit is because I want to respect people's time. I don't want to go on a 15-minute tangent that is self-fulfilling or self-flagellating or self-aggrandizing, whatever it may be, because I don't think that offers any value to somebody watching. And I want to respect everybody's time. There are a million things that any one of you could be doing that, Nico, you could be doing something else right now. You could be reading a book. You could be listening to an album. You could be watching a movie. You could go for a walk. You could walk around in France, a beautiful countryside. You could be doing any of that. Yet you are spending your time watching this show, and I should be honored that anybody is doing that. So I want to return that favor or return that graciousness. Is that the correct? I don't know if that's correct, but I want to show that I am grateful to you by respecting your time. So that is why I edit. That is why I record this offline. It is why I do so much editing. And even if I did do the live stream, I wouldn't save too much time in editing because I would still try to cut out all the flubs, try to cut out all the tangents, and try to fine-tune it to make it as straight and to the point as possible. So although I love the idea of live streaming, that's why I haven't done it. Although it may be a good idea to do some kind of live streaming again, because that would force me to get used to new production styles or new presenting styles or new technology. I would need to figure out how to cue all of the overlays, all of the bumpers, all of the Ask Bandrews, all of the questions that get sent in, all of the text. I would have to focus on all of that, and it would open up new avenues for me. So from a technical side, I probably should be doing that. But because I try to respect people's time, I have yet to do that. Maybe I'll do some kind of live streaming again. I used to do that on Twitch. I did it for maybe 6 months, maybe that long. And I would just play video games or play some music, write some music. There was a clip of that, actually. A clip of one of the live streams on this channel. It was writing the theme music for this podcast. I edited that down to 8 minutes. And 4 minutes of it was me writing something that was trash, and I just deleted all of it and started over. So that was me not respecting people's time. Nico, I hope that was a sufficient answer. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you again for sending in the video submission, my favorite Frenchman. Next, we have a submission from Brian. Take it away, Brian.
Hello, Bandrew. My name is Brian, and been a listener to your podcast here for a while. Not a long-time listener, but I've recently become interested in audio. I am in the process of beginning to start my own podcast. It's going to be a combination of music and talk. I am running a pod mic USB, and I have a Rodecaster 2 Pro, or Pro 2. And I've been playing around with the settings, and I think I've got some, I think I've got it good here, but I was just wondering if you could take a listen to this and give me some critique and see if you have any recommendations to improve, or is it too good or what? Thanks a lot. I do appreciate it, and love your podcast. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
In the morning, Brian, thank you very much for the voice submission. I really do appreciate it. First time caller. Your question is, you just started a podcast, and is the audio that you sent in good enough, or are there any issues? Is there anything that I would suggest you improve upon? First, what are you using? You're using the PodMic USB and the Rodecaster Pro 2. I don't know how you're recording in this system, and that's going to come into play if you're recording to the SD card on the Rodecaster Pro 2, or if the RCP is connected to your computer, and then you're using it as an audio interface to record into a DAW, into a recording software. I don't know which method you're using. I think the tone of the recording, I think the processing of the recording, that is all great. I would have zero issues coming across a show with that audio quality, with that processing, and listening to it. More than sufficient. You're going to have to fine-tune it over the years and determine, okay, I don't necessarily like it because of this. I want a bit more top end. I want a bit less top end. I want to roll off or boost the bass. I want to cut some nasal tones in the mids. That is where it comes down to you, because as a consumer of audio who isn't going to be hypercritical, that is more than listenable. You are already above and beyond a lot of podcasts that I have come across. So you are golden there. I did notice an issue though. At 26 seconds into your clip and 39 seconds into your clip, there were some pops. And I don't know exactly what is causing these, but from my experience, the only thing that I can think of is some kind of buffer issue. So my first recommendation is assuming that you are recording into a DAW, into a piece of recording software. In that case, you're going to need to go into your audio settings and check for your buffer size. If you have these samples set to 32 samples, 64 samples, try increasing that buffer size to 256, 512, something like that. That will likely remove any kind of overconsumption of your processor and should hopefully eliminate that issue. The second suggestion that I would have is make sure that the bit depth and sample rate are synonymous across your Rodecaster, your operating system, and your recording software. I believe the Rodecaster is stuck at 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. So go into your operating system and make sure that you also have that set to 24-bit, 48 kilohertz, and then the same thing in your digital audio workstation. Go into your project settings, make sure that the bit depth is set to 24-bit, and make sure that the sample rate is at 48 kilohertz, because that may also be causing the issue. But I hope that it's just as simple as the buffer size. If you're recording directly to the internal SD card, I don't know what would be causing that. I don't know what that would be. If anybody has any other suggestions on what might be causing those couple of little pops in the middle of the recording, let me know in the comments on YouTube, and let Brian know in the comments if there are any other suggestions, because I am mainly a Mac guy. I don't know if Brian is using Windows or Mac. So if there's some other setting, a little checkbox that somebody needs to click on Windows to resolve that, please let us know. I think that's it. That is it for this week's episode. This is a little bit more loosey-goosey, because after last week, goodness gracious, I wasn't going to do it again. I'm going to share something. I think I know why last week's was such a crappy experience for me to record. I felt wide awake. I felt great. But I had slept about 4 hours and 45 minutes. And I couldn't get through anything. Constantly flubbing, constantly starting over, constantly just hating what I was doing. Today, I got 8 hours and 45 minutes of sleep. Yes! Which is why I'm on the beach, because I fell asleep on the beach for 8 hours and 45 minutes. Totally. And I don't feel significantly better, significantly more awake than I did last week. But I feel as though I'm able to get through thoughts a lot clearer and a lot more directly. So a good night's sleep, if you are a podcaster, if you are presenting, don't sleep on it, no pun intended. It seems very important, at least to me. I don't know the last time I got almost 9 hours of sleep. Freaking kick butt. So I wanted to share that with you, because maybe if you're struggling with getting through a script, getting through an outline, making a podcast, making a video, or writing some music, try getting a good night's sleep, because that has seemingly helped me significantly. Maybe you can tell me in the comments, this was terrible. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? This episode sucked. Shut up, Bandrew. Sleep less. Okay. That is it. Thank you so much for coming by this week. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Again, I am gracious, and I will keep my bills. I appreciate you choosing to spend your time with me. Thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you, with you, about you, surrounding you. Who knows where we'll be next week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Whoa! Whoa!
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer has been Bandrew Scott. For more information, head on over to www.geeksrising.com.